To me, aka Brand. This is episode 101 of the Anime Dojo. We're doing a special Monday episode because later in the week, time is not going to be on my side for a couple days. So we're doing it today to get it out of the way and then go up on Thursday. I'm alongside Chris and Deon. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Hanging in there, bro. Hanging in there.
It's been a good week. It's a good start to the week. I will say this: we have a big thing coming up for the three of us. We're going to be heading to WeCon as a Friday, Saturday, maybe a little bit of Sunday for me and Deon. We're going to give you our thoughts of that on Tuesday next week, so look forward to that. But tonight we have stuff to get into. First of all, we need to talk about the situation with the beginning after the end. I I think this show is getting a lot of flack, but also getting a lot of flack, but also should be getting some praise as well, because I don't think the show is bad. I think there's too many similarities to other things, but also the animation is the one thing people are talking about crazily, and I can't think how much this is going to change what animation should be for anime. Then the other thing we're talking about is the fact that we've had so many high intense, really good shows with really deep stories. Is this getting back into something that we haven't seen in a while? Something that's kind of changing with anime. I think this season really can tell you the deeper stories we've gotten have been like on par with some of the stuff of early anime years, 1990, 2000, that time period. Um, then we'll go through the charts, the anime corner chart, which is the first one of this season, and then the red chart as well. And then we'll get in our episodes uh, of the beginning after the end, episode 2, and To Be a Hero X, episode 2. We'll start off with this. Chris, what do you think about this season so far with these shows that gave us deep story? Because some of these deep stories have been really interesting, made you think, gave you something to think about. But do you think it's too much too fast for a season, or do you think it's just the right amount of stories from these animes having these many animes with so many deep stories?
Well, bro, the way I see it is that the animes that we've had the last few years have been geared toward a certain type of audience, and now we're seeing them trying to broaden that. They're either trying to broaden their audience or they're trying to make their audience go back and rewatch some older animes, bro. Because I like some of the shows that we've watched recently within the first two episodes have shown us a level of depth that we haven't seen in the last 10 or 20 years. And then for them to be the majority of, it really does, it really is setting a different pace. I'll say that.
Okay, okay. Dion, what do you think about this situation with the way these animes are telling deep stories, giving us deeper meanings? A good example of them is we have Witch Watch. Um, we've had a couple things like Windbreaker. We've had the Brilliant Here in a New Life, Shadows. Uh, we've had the Unaware Outer Meister. There's been a couple different things to be Hero X, which we're gonna watch tonight as well. Um, what do you think about all this, Dion? What's your take on it? Because I kind of think I kind of I kind of think it kind of comes back to something we did prior earlier, a couple seasons ago, and it comes back to something I'll talk about with Mash. Funnily enough, and this is gonna be a weird comparison, so go with me. I think with Mash, I always said Mash was turn your brain off and enjoy it. And I didn't mean that in a bad way, but I meant that in a way where that's what they want you to do. Here, they want you to think more. They want you to have a higher meaning. Is that good or bad, or is that just something that people have? They're thinking people can have more attention spans to things. You know, because I think those attention spans are something that we don't really see nowadays in anime lasting long. But I don't know. it's a weird situation. Um, Deon, what do you think about this?
My bad. I had some technical difficulties.
No, you're good.
What are we discussing here, fellas?
So I was discussing about the deeper meaning, the deeper anime we've seen this season so far. So like, which watch? To Be Your Hero X. We watched the one last night about the guy and the girl who works in the same office, and they relationship because the guy
Oh,
is his
yeah.
girlfriend. Do you think these animes are trying to give deeper meanings to
Twisted memory
shows
one.
based on what Chris is saying and try to get people to watch older stuff, or is this just a weird one-off season we're gonna maybe?
It feels like people are kind of experimenting with stuff, like taking old tropes and trying to find new meanings to them. Like we've seen, you got to go on a quest to heal yourself or to, stop your life from ending before. Which Watch is trying to put a new spin on it. Um, I feel like I wouldn't say that they're creating deeper content because we've always had deep content. I just think they're trying to break up the monotony of, how do I say this?
I can see what you're saying with the monotony, but that monotony can be very. People are used to the same stuff. So if you're trying to break monotony, change. You're trying to change a different tactic. You're trying to make it. You're trying to give them something else to think about. But I think with these tropes, we're also seeing the issue of redoing these, making these tropes feel like new, but in a different way.
Well, I can also see the idea of changing or experimenting because they probably have some kind of something that's telling them what's lacking, or these charts or these ratings don't look the same. Not many people are watching this. They probably have some kind of stats giving them some kind of information to that. So they, I can see them wanting to experiment to kind of see what grabs readers' attentions or viewers' attention. And they might be going back to those old styles to see, what's causing them to have so much stir in a different population of kids or watchers.
I would normally agree with you, Chris, for the stats part of that, but the stats, what what kind of stats are we getting? Because if that's the case, if these anime studios and these companies, production companies are getting these stats and things, what stats are telling them they need to switch up their tactic? Because if that's the case, we wouldn't see as many shows have different things, different
Maybe
things,
not,
but all telling deep stories. That's kind of interesting.
but that's the point. You have to try something that's far left in order to understand why people are going to this way. Like imagine if they just put Mash out there just to see if people will watch something else, quote unquote, turn your brain off, and just to see how people react to it. They didn't put a whole bunch of money into it. Just they just wanted to see. They just wanted to get a reaction.
Okay, okay, I can see it. Um, it's it's also kind of funny because I think the other thing about these shows, and I think the one that does it the best with it was Altier Meister. It's probably one of the best that does it. They give you deeper meaning, but the story still kind of is simple enough. It's not over the top crazy. It's not like something you're not going to be able to understand, but it just gives you enough of a simple meaning, but also gives you more of the understanding of what's actually going on, and like maybe trying to get you to think deeper when you know about the character, what he's about. And that second episode did that very well. But I also think, what is the next step for this? Because Are we going into an age where we're going to have more seasons that are going to be a lot deeper, storytelling a lot deeper? Or is it going to be an age where this is a one off and people are going to try things and see what stick? And then if certain things stick, we'll keep them going. You also brought up, Chris, the fact that most of these shows we're talking about are going 24 episodes,
Yep.
which is even more crazy to think about. That also gives me an indication we're going to see a lot more double cores. In a sense, like we're getting 2 cores into one. 12. We're getting 12, 12, 24 total. I don't know. I see where both of y'all come at. I see where Deon's coming at. I see where you're coming at. I just wonder now. You've always catered to the audience. Well, you've always catered to our generation, and then about 2-3 years ago, Chris, you catered to the younger generation. Or are you
Yep.
trying to cater back to the generation now?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Because I mean, you have to know where your audience is, and that's especially if your audience is always changing. So yeah, I mean, come on, like these charts, like when we like take our charts for example, our charts always are see two different sides of the same coin. Sometimes we get people that agree with us, and sometimes we get people that don't. And those charts are the main foundation of that gives us that type of information.
I, okay. I'm gonna ask this question of both of y'all, but I'm gonna ask Dion first for this. Dion, you're a One Piece fan through and through. This man is a One Piece fan through and through. So I'm put this out there for you. Let me ask you this: if you saw a show that you didn't use One Piece lore, didn't use anything like that, but had the style and feeling of One Piece, but the story was so different entirely, and but still gave you a deep story, what would you think about that?
Honestly, it depends on how it's done. Because on one hand, it's kind of bittersweet because I like One Piece because it's so unique. Um, so if you see something else like it, does it keep that uniqueness, or do you like the new thing because it matches the style and creation of One Piece? It's like if you see one thing, do you like it because it's exactly like the things you already like, or do you not like it because it's not 100% original anymore? But I think
Well,
the
then,
problem with that is,
okay,
sorry, but I'm a musician too. And I realize with a lot of things, especially in the music, you can only do so many things. The imagination is limited to anything you can perceive. So if you are an artist, in any aspect, whether animation, music, whatever, you're an artist, your things you create are going to be limited by the things you like. So it's almost like just a nod to, yeah, I love One Piece. So let me create something, and it's kind of taken a little bit from it. And I hate using the word taken, but it's kind of like help me, Chris. What word am I looking for?
It's similar.
Influence,
It has
influence,
yeah.
influenced by it. Yeah. So that way you're not getting something original, but you're also not getting something that people don't like.
okay. The reason I bring up the question, the other thing I've noticed, and it's funny, and Chris, you're gonna hate me for saying this. Old Country Bumpkin, who is a sword master, that reminds me, and what I tell you, Chris, Perry.
Yep.
But it's funny. It's a better version of what I Perry tried to do. It's also a better version of what Unseen Adventure was trying to do. The old saying, and I'm going to say this out. I'm going to say this, and people already should see it. The old saying, "There's nothing new under the sun." what Deon's mentioning. We take things from other things to you, and we use the same tropes over and over again. This is probably the first time where I'm kind of like, okay, you're trying different things with the anime, style wise, character wise, story wise. And a good example of that is the one we've all watched. It's the one about the girls who are in the rock, the main character and the girl who's a drummer.
Oh, Rocket
Yeah.
Girls Modesty.
Rock and Girl Modesty, because that's a different way of telling that musical story, but using it in a way where motion capture, sound, direction, and just the heart behind it. Yes, the animation pretty decent. Animation's really decent, absolutely. But the music part of it is probably so good, you could tell they enjoyed making that. To be honest, I hope we don't ever lose those thing of like you say, Deon, your imagination can only take so far. But I also hope that you don't lose the thing of trying new things and seeing what happens. Because if you just kind of stick with the status quo, nothing's going to change. But also, if you stick with the status quo, if you go outside the status quo, then if something doesn't hit, you have to go back to the status quo. So where's the balance there? I think this season is going to really be a case of by the end of the season, what the big things people are talking about? What are the shows that people caught people's attention so quickly? And it's funny because I think it's going to be one of those things where I think Hero X is going to be one. I also think too, I could see. It's funny I'm saying this now, and Chris is probably thinking I'm saying this. I think if the trajectory goes well enough, I think Dinner Table Detective will also have that fun, interesting style. Even though the first episode was kind of weird, the second episode kind of tells you like, okay, they're trying to do the old Scooby Doo. One episode, you find out who the killer is, you find out what this murder's about, you solve it, go on to the next. That kind of
Yeah.
which is cool. But then there's the
It's the
overall.
game of Clue.
Yes.
It's the game of Clue.
It's the game of Clue like played out in the anime. But you still have this overarching story of this one big mystery that needs to be solved. We're gonna get more of that answer. If we get more of the one big mystery stuff along the way, cool. Also builds up our main character, the butler we've met, everybody. So I think that's the other thing about this. Find ways to build. What do I always say? Characters, environment, storytelling.
I think that's a big thing too. The storytelling. Um, if you can reimagine a story, it's a beautiful thing. If you can find a story that you like you guys both know, I'm not the biggest fan of Jobless Reincarnation. I'm a huge fan of the first season, not a big fan of the rest. So if you can take that storyline and reimagine it in a way to make me like it, I'm all with it.
Okay.
What's another one that did a very good job at that? Um,
I think it's. I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be kind of weird to say it. Dead Mount Death.
What you
I think
say?
which one?
Dead Mount Death Play.
Damn on Death Play.
I think
That was
that
definitely a different type of mystery.
different type of
Yeah.
mystery. Storytelling was different because you got old stuff alongside new things. Characters are all wacky and interesting. It worked for what they were trying to do, but also it still gave you the hook of like, oh, here's the answer to that question you wanted from an episode ago. Here's the answer to this question from two, and they gave you the little breadcrumbs. That stuff I enjoy because it's interesting to kind of think back. What did we see? What did we miss? I'm gonna put this out there. I hope. I kind of will see. If this season's a banger as it's gonna be, this is what a normal season for anime should be. I know it can't be all the time. That's not a guarantee. But this is something. This is, I think, a baseline for what a season of anime should be.
This sets the bar.
Yes, a good enough bar for storytelling, character building, and environments. I think
So
this
are
So
is
you
you
saying that this
saying
is the best season? Oh, go ahead.
no,
We're
go
going the
go
same
ahead.
way.
No.
We're going the same place.
I'm
Are
not
you saying
saying
that this is the best season of anime we've gotten so far? Even just within our 101 episodes. Mind you, it's been 101 episodes
I
past it.
think
You
I
tune in
think I think so. Just because I think you can tell the developer of these anime, the production people, it took these stories and adapted them for what they want to experience, what
Mm.
they want the viewers to experience.
Even
Honestly,
better than the season where Frieren came out.
it's interesting. I think
Like
Furin
solo
and
leveling, we had
the
Mappa
first
going
the first season
crazy.
solo leveling, like the first season solo leveling, Furin, you had Apothecary Diaries. That's probably the closest match. But here's the other thing about this, and y'all both said this.
Yes.
Y'all have both said this. This season has a lot more sleeper hits.
Yeah.
And I think the sleeper hits of this season outpace a lot of the sleeper hits from that season. In the sense, a lot of the sleeper hits from this season, I can see multiple people watching a lot of them because they're at least interesting enough. You might.
But that kind of contradicts a sleeper, right?
That's
Yep.
true. Absolutely does. Absolutely does. That's the funny part. You can have a couple A tier shows, but if B and C ain't doing nothing, the A tier can't hold on. But if your A tier is good enough, you have three or four good A tier shows, but your B and C are hitting, and even some of your D shows are hitting, then you're like the season overall is strong.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
I see what you did with that. Yeah.
yeah,
That
Yeah.
makes sense. The strong season means that your D class hitters are even doing good. Oh, okay.
correct.
I see what you're saying.
And like, do I?
Even though
And
for
we're gonna
this season, I would say that's a bit of a stretch, but I can see where you're coming from.
I can see where you're going with it at least, you know.
it is a very bit of stretch. Let me roll into this now. Talk about this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate to these two gentlemen for this. We need
Uh-oh.
to talk. We need to talk about the beginning after the end.
Mm.
Here's the thing with this. Do I agree the animation is not like the best? Yes. Did I expect it to be something out of like a best anime movie? No. But also, did I expect it to be some of the greatest fights we're gonna see? No. Ultimately, to me, a lot of people are complaining about something that they had high expectations for and over hyped a little bit. Here's my thing, and I'm gonna say this with all respect to Solo Leveling. I'm sorry what I'm about to do.
Uh-oh. Not solo leveling.
I gotta lean in for this one. What's gonna happen here? What are we doing? Cause don't take us down with you, B.
No. You're good. I'm not doing that. But yes, all three of us like Solo Leveling from the beginning. Here's my thing, but people didn't jump on the bandwagon until after the Icarus fight that happened in season one.
Mm.
A lot of people didn't jump on the bandwagon until after the end of season one.
Okay, I
A
stand with
lot
you.
of people didn't get into it till they saw the beginning of season two, and it was like the second, third episode of season two.
But
And
that's what I've
season
been
one,
saying. That's what I'm like. I just so happen to be comparing it to Jobless Reincarnation. And then at the time I had been saying it, I had no idea how much the scenes had lined up the way that they did. But to me,
Mm.
that only put it even more concrete. Like, people need to slow down. It's only the first two episodes, and if people want this to go as hard as they think they want it to, they need to let it cook because it's going for 24 episodes.
Yeah, you remember
Like,
even with solo leveling, those first two episodes, I was like, yeah,
yeah,
what we doing here?
yeah, you are.
It wasn't
'Cause
until the third episode where I was like, okay, we're locked in. The first
But
two
and
should have been one episode, and then we move on.
And Deon even said that. First two episodes should have been one episode. The last two episodes of the season should have been one episode. So ultimately, what are we getting at? And here's the other thing, gentlemen, and Chris, you brought it up. Slow your roll, everybody. Like you said, if you want this to do well, let it cook. I have a high hunch it's gonna do fine. Do I expect it to be a masterpiece in animation? Absolutely not. But do I expect it to have a decent way of telling the story about this ruler who became a kid in another world to use his powers and to try to understand this world? Absolutely.
If you were rating this on strictly storytelling without the visuals, then this show is actually still doing pretty good. It's got an air of mystery behind it. Yeah. It has
One
an
more
air
time,
of
Deon.
mystery behind it.
Up to this point, it's up there with Slime, one of the greatest isekais ever written.
And here's the other big thing.
In the first
I
5
love
episodes, we bounced around the cave.
Thank you.
But it's funny. It's funny. I'm gonna repeat something Deon just said, or Chris just said about it's the fact of getting compared to Jobless. And the little thing I talked about earlier in the opening, it's a beat by beat, like showing you scene from Jobless, scene from the show, scene from Jobless, and it's the exact same shot for shot look. But here's the thing: we talked about in this first topic, nothing new under the sun. So what do you expect? It's the same style as Jobless in a sense. Guy gets reincarnated, kid comes to a new world, he's learning about the power system, he gets very powerful, he's learning how to use his magic, all this stuff. So some of the shots were gonna be similar. For my money, what are we talking about here?
One of the good things we know, especially with this being an isekai in these times, is that I'm glad that our character he looks OP, but he's probably not just yet. He's a prodigy, but he is still it's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. He still can be considered a child in this world.
Yes.
Like he's not taking on adults and whooping on them and stuff like we would see in a lot of animes. His flaws are still that of a child. His body's too little. He's not, but it's quickly becoming not an issue.
Well, and even you brought up something, Deon, and I remember we watched the prior episode, and I remember you talked about that first episode. You even said you didn't like the fact that you mentioned when he was a baby that he pooped his diaper. Well, I said I do agree, but also it's kind of showing the fact that he's still a kid. And you said they could do that multiple different ways. Ultimately, I agree with that. You could have done that multiple different ways. It's kind of out of place, but ultimately they did the best they could to prove that he's still a baby.
Well, I can see Deon's point of view on that.
Oh,
but
so could I.
I can also see why they would do it too.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw this out there, so bear with me. This would be let me ask this question. Would this be an issue if this was these two shows out here? Don't think about the comparison, but think about the optics. If this was High School DxD, and please put them on Talk of Me, would this be an issue if if it was those two shows? Because here's the thing I'm going to bring up. Please put them on Talk of Me. The animation is not super strong, but it's strong enough. But High School DxD have some of the best animation of any type of
that type of show. Yep.
Type of show ever. So
there's one you need to watch that might top that one, but I understand where you're coming from.
I think DxD had very typical animation style for its era and time.
It did.
Like if you look at High School of the Dead, Trinity 7, like those animes and same time period pretty much. I Can Make a Kill. Like it's all pretty much in this box. Like nobody's really being garbage, but nobody's pushing those borders. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but
Mhm.
I the thing I'm getting at it with though, it's just like they're two different shows. They're two different ways of doing something. If you expected overhype for one, your expectations were too high. Like your expectations for something were way too high if you thought the beginning after end was just going to be this masterpiece from manga.
and it
Huh?
still can be though.
It
Right,
can.
because this is still early in the
That's the
season.
thing. It still can be.
And like me and Chris had the problem with the thing with the table checked for that first episode. The second episode, we're like, okay, we see where they want to do with this. We'll give it another shot because you hooked us back in. Ultimately, you can hook us back into the beginning after the end very quickly if you know what you're going to do with the show. That's not hard to do. All that to
See,
say,
oh, good.
no, you're good. All that to say, give things a chance before you.
Bash it before you completely try to cancel the entire show without the entire season coming out.
Unless it's
Thank you.
MASH.
And see your Mash thing. I don't mind. I don't mind because Mash was only about the song, which is fair. The song was the
Hey,
thing.
people give MASH high hopes, man. I trashed MASH from the very first sentence, and I stand my ground the entire season.
I
And it
mean,
was trash.
look at us right now. Me and you are Guilty Gear fans, Deon, and we're looking at Guilty Gear like,
Trash.
what y'all doing? Like, Guilty Gear's not even telling a Guilty Gear is telling a story that's based off the game, which you have to play the game first to understand what's actually going on. But like, if you're not a gamer or don't understand the game or the story, you're kind of like, who are these characters? Why do we care? What's the purpose?
Now
Like
you said
that's
it right. What the? Yeah. Yep. Keep that one.
like
Yo, like you were saying, be about Guilty Gear. You're like, the way that they started, they're trying to introduce the characters and get everybody back familiar with who. I seen Fire Force, the way they reintroduced everybody and get it. They did it quick, simple, easy, to the point. Let's get on with the story. The way
Yep.
Guilty Gear is doing this, bro.
even
Yeah.
even to a point, the healer the one about the healer that has the weird healing powers, and they did the
Oh, the
whole
Brilliant Healer. Yeah.
really healer. We do the foreshadowing what we saw like way off in the distance, and now we're getting to build up how we met all these people. That's cool storytelling. At least you're getting to build up how you met all these people and understand why he's meeting all these people along the way. So there's ways to do it and make it make sense, but there's other ways you don't do it well and don't make it make sense at all. All that to say, I'm gonna say this. I don't love Twitter because I do use Twitter for certain things. That's how I find stuff like the charts and stuff. But at times, people overreact to shows that they didn't have. They have either watched, they don't even know much about because they don't read the manga or haven't looked into
Right.
it. Here's the thing. I know the whole. I'm not getting into this debate because it's stupid to me. There's anime watchers and then there's manga readers. The two are
I'm
never
about to
going
say
to.
something really controversial. I really am. Everybody who makes money with the job title known as a influencer can kiss my ass. Why?
Oh,
Because these are opinionated people who are getting paid for their opinions, and sometimes they don't have a brain in between their ears.
ooh, wow, that was
Now that may not be all influencers, but oh my God, the y'all. So for y'all positive influence out there who are really doing fact checking and actually coming back with scientific proof, I applaud you. But oh my God, are y'all being overrun by the ones who are dumb as shit?
Hey, y'all finna make me step my influencer game up, bro. I'm finna be an influencer by the end of this weekend.
Like,
but here's
am I lying though?
no,
Watch
you're
this.
Come
not.
on.
Not at all.
You're not. But
That's for everything, though.
here's the funny thing. I would have thought somebody would have said, here's what they're doing. Here's how the manga does it. I haven't seen that at all for the beginning after end. So I don't know. Basically, I don't even know why people are so annoyed with the way the animation looks or how the story's told. We don't know what the manga is based, how the manga bases it, what's going on. Like, give me the context, then I'm gonna ask questions. But you haven't gave me the context, so I don't know what question I should ask.
You know who does a really good job of basing it with the manga,
Who?
and why people love it so much? Bleach.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep, I agree with that.
yeah. I can't disagree.
Bleach is just like a god tier anime, man. Especially Thousand Year Blood War.
I
But
think the whole issue is now, and like I said before, Chris cut me off, which I don't mind Chris cutting me off. You can cut me off. We cut each other off a lot. You'll figure that out as you've been through these 100 episodes with us. 101 episodes with us. It goes back to the fact I do not care if you're a manga reader or anime watcher, but I do care when the anime watchers see the animation not doing well. The story kind of seems lackluster, but then the manga readers are like, "No, this is what it's supposed to be." But then we have to think about this is a shot look at like how it looks like with Jobless. I'm like, dude, respect. I think it's the same. All isekais are close to the same to each other for the most part.
yeah,
That's gonna be that will never change unless isekais change to how they tell stories, which will probably never change. But I digress.
I mean that's the whole point of an isekai. Like you wouldn't want a romantic drama to not be romantic or not be drama anymore. Like the whole point of an isekai is the reincarnation into a fantasy world with certain tropes, you know. I don't know why. I don't know. And I'll say this too. I'd rather you start off horrible and lower my expectations and then be good than to start off great with a good episode and then completely trash everything. Like,
Cash.
That jumped in fast.
facts. No, facts. But even some animes that are good, like I'm watching one now. Chris put me on. Uh, what is it, Chris? The one with the wolf, the fender.
Uh, cooking and something. I can't think right now.
Adventures of cooking. Adventures of
Oh,
Hold
okay,
up,
okay.
now see, now I gotta go
something
look.
something.
Hold up,
Yeah,
no,
I'm about to
hold
pull
up,
it up.
because that is too good of a show not to give his name.
Yeah, yeah. But what was your
Uh,
point with that, Deon?
Campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill.
There it is.
What
Um,
was your point with that?
I love the very first 7 episodes.
Okay.
At the 7th episode, the main character is starting to really irk my nerves.
Yep, because he's a
The
little.
sh- okay, so it's not just me.
Okay.
Yes, he is a like bro.
Yeah.
You walking around with this dope team, and you still hiding behind rocks and stuff. In like episode 11 and 12, like bro. But so with this show, the beginning after the end, I'm okay with it starting off slow. You know what else started off slow? All the fake series.
Ooh.
They all start off slow. You can't watch a fake series for the first 4 episodes and not feel like it's going to be horrible.
Even and funnily enough, Chris, refresh my memory. I'm not saying my memory is bad, but Jobless started slow, correct?
Jobless was just as slow as this show is now, and
Which is why
in
they're
my
giving it.
right in my because remember, Jobless didn't start. They didn't get interesting until like episode 5, and I remember when I was watching it. You know me, I give a three episode rule. I was about to drop it until they hit me with the bombshell of episode 5. And lo and behold, it turned out to be a really good show, in my opinion.
And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna put this out there. We've had about a 20-minute discussion about this. Here's the thing: give shows time. People have worked hard to make the show, animate it, do everything for it. There is nothing, and I'm gonna use something from IGN. They've said this hundreds. There is no game, movie, whatever. It's gonna ever be a perfect 10 out of 10. All the time.
There's one.
You know what I'm getting at, though.
I just want it to be known. There is
Well,
one.
yeah, fair.
And
But-
nobody would guess it off bait until you just think about it. But there is one.
But like, there's nothing that's gonna be a perfect 10 out of 10 for everybody. But there's also nothing that's gonna just be a 0 for everybody. Here's the thing: what we've talked about here is something that anime has had issues over the time period with. Infotable probably does some of the best animation I've known in the anime in the anime sphere. Mappa does really good animation. You have Madhouse. There's so many good animations, and they all do it differently. But here's the thing: Infotable and Mappa have a budget that's probably higher than most, about the size of a movie studio. Like, and some of these smaller anime studios don't have that type of budget, so you're not expecting it to be something out of like super amazing. All that to say, like what you like, but also don't bash something that's not really bashable until you get the full context.
Don't bash stuff unless you have a legitimate reason to bash it. Because some of the stuff that y'all saying are just stupid. It just be that. That's just keep it 100.
Yeah,
And-
like calling the fight steals.
Or PowerPoints,
funny,
which
But let's be real.
like, yeah, like it is funny, but it's like, why would you call the fight steals or PowerPoints? That's kind of sad because it tells me you don't give the artists who made this very labor-intensive anime their due.
Because I guarantee you, if you had a budget, you would probably think twice about what you wanted to animate too.
But you call them. My thing is, you talk trash about them, but you say Blue Lock is one of the best animations you've ever seen.
Oh man!
And
oh
then
god!
how can I take your opinions?
This is the same generation that says Mash is a. This is the same generation that's saying that Mash could beat One Punch Man.
Yeah,
Oh, but
I'm gonna.
but that's
I'm
another
gonna-
one that they compared 2 and 2
Correct.
to. You know, so
Exactly.
I'm gonna end off with this, and it's funny to say this because I'm a fan of this game, and it's actually the comparison. I'll just kind of roll it on. People were bashing Emma Frost from Marvel Rivals because the way the character looked. I'm gonna leave it at that because
I gotta go look.
because it was funny because the way they made her more thick like in her main costume, and then the other costume was more thin like, which everybody's bashing the original costume, which is even more funny because I'm like,
Emma
what are we
Frost is
doing
that
here?
deal though.
Like, what are we doing here that kind of made people go, I don't think she should be. I'm like, have you seen Chun-Li? Have you seen Cammy? I'm thinking this back in my brain, like, have you seen some fighting game characters before? Like, this is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. It kind of just threw me for a loop because I'm thinking, this same debate we're having for this is the debate they're having for that. Just like, stop it.
I don't
Stop
see
it.
anything wrong with this.
There you
Maybe
go.
the clothing, but it's not like she's over exaggerating or anything. It's just
No, I think they were like these things that she's gonna wear as a bigger lady. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Like but give me a reason why. You didn't give me that reason, so cool. I just had to put that out there because there was also like other controversy alongside this. I kept seeing
she
just like,
looks like Emma Frost. I mean, not like facially she doesn't, but
no,
she looks
that's
like
the-
the comic book Emma Frost, just
that's the
dressed a little bit more
interpretation.
provocative.
Yeah.
Which even she dressed provocative for that day and age. Like she was one of the
I
only characters with her body out. So I get it though. I don't
I
know, man.
I just think it's
People are
funny
soft.
because I think it's now getting to the point where you can't have nice things anymore with anime and shows and gaming until somebody tries to break it up. That's all I'm gonna say to that. Let's get in these charts because these charts actually are very interesting. By the way,
Y'all want me to tell y'all my perfect anime?
what is that?
Most perfect anime, perfect video game, perfect culture ever for
Okay,
anybody, 100% across the board. Pokemon. And I'll leave it at that.
yeah, yeah, you can't argue with that. Sadly, you can't.
I dare
you can't
somebody
argue
tell me
with.
different.
You can't argue with that. That is true. So these charts are for week 1, April 5th through the 12th. We have Witch Watch at 1. We have Sword of the Demon Hunter at 2. We have Windbreaker at 3. Fire Force at 4. The Apothecary Diaries at 5. Uh, Cooland General Romance at 6. Put them on Takumi at 7. Can a boy girl friendship survive at 8? The Shonen Family Children at 9. To Be a Hero X at 10. Chris, I'll start off with you for this. What do you think about this
Man, hold up, because I got to look at this. Or did you not put it in the chat yet? Oh, no, there it
No,
is.
I did. I'll put it up.
Witch Watch, I don't know if look, I don't know if it could be Sword of the Demon Hunter, but it definitely, of all hell, did not break Windbreaker or Fire Force. Like, that is a travesty. Some of these other ones, I mean, To Be Hero X, they still got a lot to prove right now because that episode 2 did throw me for a loop. I mean, they doing a lot. Apothecary Diaries, well, okay. Calhoun Romance, oh my God, is that a brain fuck right now? We know why Takamine-san is there. So the rest of the question is, why are these other ones there?
Okay. Fair. Fair. Deon, what do you think about this?
Hold on, my bad. This chart is where did you say? Okay, I see it. I see it. So no, this is the old chart. I don't have the new chart.
No, I sent it. It's in the group chat.
For which week?
Mm-hmm. That's week 1 of the spring. It's in there.
It says April
Oh,
5th through April 12th.
we text so much, bro.
Yes, we do. We text a lot. That's a good thing. That's not bad.
So, which watch is number 1 in this season, right?
Yeah.
Or on this one? Okay, just make sure you're on the right one. No, remember what I told you guys very first before this even came out? Remember
Yeah,
I
you did.
counted down the list which ones was gonna be on here?
And you said 6 out of 10.
6 out of the 10. Should
Yep.
we count again?
Yep.
Hey, go ahead. Go right ahead because I think you're at that. You're at 6.
1, 2, 3. I won't even count 4 or 5, but 7, 8, and 10.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Now, if you
Yeah.
include 4,
I,
it's guaranteed it was on our list.
I see why you didn't include 4 and 5. Makes sense because they're technically continuing new season for 4 and then the continuation for 5.
Well, we know 4 is going to be on there. We knew 4 was going to be on there immediately.
Yeah.
That's 5 is
Yeah.
continuing still, and it's been a strong continuation.
Yes, with a lot of fan base behind it.
Yeah.
I
Now, can a
want to go.
boy-girl friendship survive? It's actually decent.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
The only one I wouldn't have called is number 9.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that one seems like a children's show.
I have the full list in front of me. I'm gonna say one thing before I say something. I'm gonna mention something. I actually have to give them credit. 6. I'm actually surprised 6 is high as it is. Because number 6 on this list, the romance story, is a total like.
Mindfuck. Yeah, it's a mindfuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
but that's why it's on
you.
the list, bro.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's
Literally,
why it's on the list.
literally, it makes you go, "What did I just watch?" In a way like I don't even know how to explain what I just watched. I can't explain what I just saw, but I have tried to explain it. That's why 6 is on here. Let me give you a thing real quick. After Superhero X at 10, Lazarus at 11, and then a tie for 12. Let me repeat that again. A tie for 12. My Hero Academia Vigilance and the beginning after the end.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So tell me something, gentlemen. All this talk about beginning after end not being that great. It's at a tie for 12. What does that tell you? That tells me it's actually doing pretty well for itself. That tells me it's holding up against My Hero. If it's tied with My Hero.
My Hero sucks though.
Whoa. We're gonna
Yeah.
unpack that in a second. We're gonna unpack that in a second because I want to hear that. But then also a tie.
Did I call it? I'm sorry, Brandon. Did I
No,
call
you're
it?
good. You're
It's
good.
it sucks for different reasons though, Chris. Like it's still good, but it sucks.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And
Like
then
it's worth the watch,
okay.
but
That's
it
okay. That's fair.
definitely sucks.
That's fair.
But
That's the thing.
we can get into it if y'all want to, but just
Here's
know.
the thing I never mentioned. A tie for 13th as well. Rock is a lady's miss.
Modesty.
And Devil May Cry.
Mm.
Think about those two.
Where's
Two
Guilty Gear?
different ends of two different ends of the spectrum.
Oh yeah, that's polar
Ooh.
opposites right there.
Old Country Bumpkin is 15. I'm gonna scroll through some of the other ones on here. Oh, yeah. Catch Me at the Ballpark is 17, which I heard is pretty decent. That's a sports anime. Here's one. The Brilliant Healer is 19. Yandere Dark Elf is 20. Dinner Table Detective is 27. The Unaware Altair Master, you probably hurt your hearts to hear this, 28.
No, it makes sense.
Okay, very
It's still pretty
interesting.
soon.
It's a sleeper. Like it's really a sleeper, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Guilty Gear Strive, Deon, you asked about that one. And that's the big ones. Yeah, that's the problems we've been kind of keeping up with. Nothing else really on this list that's too crazy.
Where did you say it was?
Guilty Gear Strive, 37.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah, tied for 37. It's tied with 36 for 37.
Dang, bro.
A lot of ties in this, by the way. That's
See,
3 ties.
we said it was gonna be in the high 20s if it was good. So imagine.
Yeah, that's also kind of bad. Um, I can't I can't imagine. I'm gonna put this out there, gentlemen. I'm gonna put that out for 2 shows, Old Country Bumpkin and the Beginning. If they have banger episodes, they're both going to the top 10 quickly. They both can hit the top 6 quickly. The only other one I'll give that to is Lazarus. If Lazarus does well enough, because the story with Lazarus is fun, I think it also can hit the top 10. It's on the cusp. So those are the ones I think will have that opportunity. Chris, go to the other chart for me, or if you want me to read it, I can.
No, I got it.
Give me that top 10 for me.
Yeah, the chart
All
that knows
right.
what they're talking about.
Okay, so starting number 1, we have the Apothecary Diaries, episode 13. So it was a season finale.
Yeah, that's finale.
2, we have My Hero Academia Vigilantes, episode 1. Followed by Witch Watch, episode 1. Let's see. I cannot read that. Is that GQU? What? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's the one I
Okay, number 5 is
I've never heard of that one.
Right. 5 is Kowloon Generic Romance. 6,
Hmm.
Fire Force. 7, Lazarus. 8, Rock is a Lady's Modesty. 9, Shoshin to become ordinary. And 10, Apocalypse Hotel. Which, wow, what? See, the fact that this list has shows that we have not even conceived of is like already kind of alarming.
So this list is out of
Well,
left field.
oh, to become normal is a second season.
Yes, but
And it's supposed to be pretty
Apocalypse
good.
Hotel.
That one is one of those real sleepers. Like, it didn't even
Yeah.
seem interesting, but apparently it is.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair.
It seemed corny. I ain't gonna say it didn't seem interesting. It seemed corny.
But think about this. I'm looking at the rest of the chart, Chris. Windbreaker at 17. Can a boy and a girl's friendship survive at 18? Like, what? What is with this chart? Like, this Reddit chart's kind of crazy to me.
Moonrise is at 14.
Yeah. There's some issues. There's some issues.
Have you seen Moonrise?
Mm-hmm.
Then you know that show is severely underrated right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm like at 14
Wow. Think about this.
on this
Please put,
chart.
please put them on Talk to Me. It's only 26.
Yeah, it makes sense
And
for this chart.
it's 7 on the other one, which tells something kind of crazy.
Because the people on these on the Reddit chart are men of culture or people of culture.
Yeah, they care about story and stuff.
It
Oh,
makes
wow.
sense on this chart. The other chart is pure
Emotion.
fan
Yeah.
like. Yeah, emotion. There's no other way to put that. It's what you like personally, not what's a good anime.
Let me look at something 'cause I don't remember how many people voted in this chart. I need to look real quick. What did it say for the control this one? 5,000. Yeah, 5,008 people voted.
Because the fact that last season that the MD detective, the one I was telling you about, never touched the anime corner chart, but it was on this chart, on the Reddit chart, lets me know a lot.
I'm more surprised that Vigilante is as high as it is on that Reddit chart, but that's also because it's my hero. I think that's why it gets a little
But I
bit.
told you, it's definitely a good watch. It's worth the watch. It's interesting. It is my hero. Like, but why does it suck?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see what week 2 charts will have for us. I don't think anything's going to really change right away. I don't think anything's solidifying right away, like Chris would say. I don't think anything's solidifying for a bit. But I think we'll have a lot of things bounce around for a bit. Depending on what the episodes do, I think you'll have bounce around. I think the one that's going to really bounce around into some other kind of case, I think 2B Hero X will jump in that top 5 within like 2-3 episodes. I think by episode 3 I think by either 3 or 4 or 2 or 3, it's going to jump in the top 5 just because the way that goes kind of crazy.
I'm not making any predictions for this chart. These shows are way too.
Yep, I can't say nothing right now.
But let's get into the beginning after the end, episode 2. Well, where we left off, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of interesting. We finally get to know more about this kid, but also we kind of get more of his backstory as the main character. This episode kind of builds out he's gotten stronger, but also builds out why he was such a weird king in his time period. We'll get that kind of story as well, and we'll kind of see some other players as well. So we'll get to see a little bit of everything in this episode. But in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Almost.
All right, no worries.
You know what's interesting about this show is, for me, it sucks because I want to hurry up and see more. And that's the only problem with like slow burn shows like this, is I see the potential in them, so I want to see the end up like the end of
Mm-mm.
it already.
Would you want a faster pacing for this? Because if they do a faster pacing, you would skip a lot of stuff.
No, I wouldn't
Really
necessarily want a faster pacing, but I would want I hate to say this, please don't let the words burn my tongue as they come out. A a Netflix style release where you get all the episodes released at one time.
You can see me looking straight at you right now.
I see you.
Like, did you say the thing that you don't like? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, you see,
All
I
right.
wanted to burn my tongue as it came out. I hate Netflix, but I
All
do
right.
enjoy
He
binging certain.
looked great. Look at like, what? What did you just say?
I do
That's
enjoy
fine. That's fine.
binging a show though,
Yeah,
and
I mean, I-
the one thing
we'll
Netflix does with its originals is it will release all of them, and you can take your time and watch them, or you can burn through them.
we'll never get the bingeable style like Netflix and Crunchyroll. That's never gonna be a thing.
Unless it's an
Anything
older anime that's already come out.
correct.
Never say
Anything
never.
newer, anything newer, I think it will be hard for us to have that happen. We're getting stuff in English right away, which I'll give them credit. We're getting that point.
That's one step.
That's one step. It's eventually it'll take time to where a show just pops on everything at once. That's not really something strong.
Let's get on this, guys.
All right.
Anime creators, Crunchyroll, Sony, Japan,
Yeah.
Asia. Like, how high do we need to go with this tier list?
Like we know
Um,
y'all got the money for it. We
Oh
know
yeah,
there
they
are
yeah.
plenty of anime, manga, and Chinese manga that's all out there to pick from. You can do it.
I think the
I'll wait
thing
an extra
is
3 months if it means you can give me every
everything at
episode out
once.
right then. Yeah.
See that I think what we have to do is get rid of the season, get rid of the season model. The season model would have to go away completely
Why?
because I don't think you would have enough in a season to justify having a certain like a certain
What?
winter
No,
season,
just
fall.
drop
You know,
everything, and then actually you can watch more anime because you can binge the ones you want to, and then move on to the next one instead of wait
okay,
until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to see one, and now you gotta catch up all in one day. Like, nah, I'm gonna watch everything.
fair
And
enough,
then if you
fair
do
enough.
it that way, you would know concretely which shows were good, which shows were sleepers, and
Mhm.
everything of that fashion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And then
But let's
still
get
3 or 4 months later, release more stuff.
correct. Let's get in this episode now. We'll get to this. This are going to be our little appetizer. Then we have the main course, which is Two Bear X. Two Bear X is going to be kind of weird because me and Chris watched it, and I still don't know what really happened to this. This one is more concrete for the most part. It tells you that story, but it also gives you a little hint of what's going to
Nah,
happen.
bro, I hate the way that it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get into
Um.
that one.
So in 3, 2, 1, let's go. The King under attack.
I gotta read.
Oh, that changes what this part was. I forgot he said that. So, okay. You call that mercy? That's a great line when you think about it. That was not mercy.
In some ways it is, and in a lot of ways it's not.
It's not.
It's the first time you really see him like happy with his parents.
Yep. Or happy at all.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, the beginning part of this, did you see where it said right before the intro started, based on a comic book? So this tells me, or comic series. So this has probably a different adaptation base since it's a comic book base, not a manga base.
Well, it's a mama base, so
Yeah,
it was adapted the same way that Solo Leveling was.
which I actually like because they
Which
add
is
color. And,
why it gets compared to it. This intro
yeah,
is
that's why.
fire though.
Yeah, this intro is fire. I like the colors and the way the. Oh, we can see. Oh, we see Mulder in that picture, in that shot.
Yeah. Looks like she got a cool little weapon too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Oh, they're doing the thing. That's the smaller stuff. That's the kid version. And that's the adult version.
They did what Solo Leveling did.
That is like wow. That is exact compare. Okay, all right. I still my stand still stands, but that's not terrible.
And then here comes some more jobless comparisons.
Yep.
Oh, the
At
proper
least his dad
teacher.
didn't cheat on his mom.
And as far as we know so far, this guy isn't a pervert. So
Yeah, no, that's also
And
fair.
as far as we know, Deon
oh
hasn't read further into the show yet.
yeah, yeah.
I think he'll never get there because I think the way they're saying he was a strict king in this world. He's not that king anymore.
Well, he's not a king at all. He's just living life right now.
He's
And
learning how to love again.
you make this show sound really corny now.
That's the premise. You have this guy who didn't know love. You bring him into a world where all he sees is love. He's learning how to open up and become human.
That's jobless in a nutshell, ain't it?
Drop us in a nutshell.
Pretty much. That's also 90% of isekais.
Yep.
Yeah, give or take.
That shut in who didn't know anybody or was too shy to talk to the popular girl or was, you know.
Wait, when the house burned. So we didn't see that scene. That's a flashback. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I was like, why do you say that? Like, we didn't see, and then they showed that flashback. The house burned down. Really? You just did that off the cuff?
Which is the anime trope from every anime ever.
Really?
The rogue, the ranger.
Rogue, Ranger, the girl that was trying to hug him so tight he almost can't, where he can't breathe.
It's the
Major.
mage.
She's the major. Okay, that's what I thought.
Major or
How's she-
cleric.
That's what I thought. Major cleric, but I couldn't tell because the way.
Well, nah, his mom was a cleric.
His
his
mom
mom-
is the
that's right.
cleric. That's right. His mom is
Yeah,
the cleric.
mom's a cleric. 'Cause she can-
So mage, wizard type.
And he was straight
You
sword because
have
the redhead guy,
so-
was a swordsman. Straight swordsman.
yeah, swordsman, fighter.
And tank.
No, that's the fighter. His
Yeah,
dad
his
is the
dad's the
fighter.
fighter.
And then barbarian tank type character. You know, I'm gonna make a barbarian tank character that's like a dwarf or something. They always make them these big dudes.
And then, no, you have to make it a halfling.
A halfling.
Halfway to barbarian tank.
Make them based off the Hobbit, but he's a tank.
That's what I'm saying because dwarves and the Lord of the Rings series are already.
They
I
are
think they're
beefy, yeah.
so that's why you gotta
Make
choose a
'em
halfling.
Make him a gnome.
Yeah, there you go.
Fair
Or
enough.
if you really want to be make it a fairy.
Ooh. Now I can see fairy barbarians. Look at the one from Slime.
Yep. See.
Little pixie berserk.
Be like that little pixie out of Ben and Nico.
Mm.
Yeah, a little Tinkerbell looking.
That low key has a going through people's skulls in an instant. Yeah.
Man, what?
What are they eating? Wolf?
Meat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Now, see, that's the part that kind of wanted me like, dude, you offered to go up against a kid, not knowing how strong he was. But the
I would
fact
say,
that you
yeah.
just
Why'd
offered
you
out a kid,
and hit this kid's how old? Like 6?
He was like 4.
Oh, league.
Brandon, like that's like me asking you, like you asking the like, no, very that's like you asking Deon if you can fight his 2-year-old daughter. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
no. Yeah.
But then
Most kids
when
have
this
more.
happened,
Right.
Most kids have more energy than most adults at certain points. So how do you change direction?
Now, see, if there was a kid to move like that, I wouldn't want to be nowhere near no kid like that.
And he's blocking. That's the weird part. Oh yeah, so it's mage.
He got his first crush, and I mean the girl has a crush on him.
But this is the first time you hear her talk, and she asked about what he just did.
Yep.
What gave you the curiosity? That's the thing.
his abilities.
But she's also a
What
rogue.
kind of
So she,
4-year-old can move faster than her? Yeah.
She looks young herself too, so
yeah, she's probably the youngest in this group, I think, based on the way the characters look.
See, he moves as fast as she do with magic without, and she
With
doesn't have
magic, without magic. Okay.
it.
Why are you just staring at him?
Cause
Say
she has a
something.
crush on him. She low key has a crush on him.
The boy is 4 years old. Like,
How often do we hear about teachers and students?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna leave that there.
it could be
See,
Wait,
innocent, like little brother type
it could
love.
be
that's true.
innocent. It could be innocent, which is a fair thing. Okay, the mom
Now
like
see that, but they seem more like older mother's daughter, auntie.
Yeah, they look like they finna try to hook them up.
Yep.
mm, bandits. Wait. He says, leave the woman and child alive. They're worthless. I thought. Oh, by the way, these some bad bandits. Oh, that's why that line is there. There we go.
Yep.
I forget because the scene where she hunched over. I'm like, is she sick or is she pregnant? But that was something I couldn't tell. This is karma. That's the end of this episode. I have to give them some credit. They do a very good job of kind of continuing the story from episode one. And I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I'm gonna put this in two parts. This first part is basically after they rebuilt the house, they figure out that Arthur wants to learn how to use a sword instead of using the guns like his dad. So he uses a sword. He beats the sword in a fight pretty easily. Breaks the little stick the dad was using with the magic from the magic that the dad was using. But also, we see the mom and the dad talking and saying, "We need to find a proper teacher. He just can't do this without that." And she's like, "No, he's my boy. I can teach him whatever." And then Arthur kind of pipes up and goes, "You know, do this. They'll help you grow." They're like, "Fine, we'll do this." And they find the proper teacher. It's a flashback from when you saw these characters help build the house. So you have this fighter, you have this tank, you have a heal, you have a mage, archer, rogue, all these people trying to help this kid. They're gonna go out into the world and train him, make him stronger and stuff. And as he's doing that, he kind of sees his mom get kind of sickly after eating a bunch of food and what's going on. And then he heals her dad. They explain that she heals, her power is very strong, can attract people very easily, all this kind of stuff. I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna start off with this. Chris, what do you think about this first section?
Bro, honestly, it really just feels like a an imitation of Jobless right now. Like all the way up until the point to where we're just kind of seeing them enjoy life, and then they're campfire cooking. Yeah, it's really slice of life ish right now until we get to the fight. So I'll keep it there.
Okay. Deon, do you have the same kind of feelings for that? Like there's another like slice of life, feels like jobless kind of episode. This episode.
Um, so far, I feel like it's any isekai. we, we start off having to build the character, then we have to build the world and the story, and then we can get to the plot. Right now, we're still building the scene. The character isn't
Mhm.
even fully developed yet. The world isn't fully developed yet. So, yeah, it's going to be a journey. We're only in the second episode. Now, ask me that on episode 4.
Or
Okay.
6.
Okay.
And
Fair enough. I,
oh,
I,
if it's
I
still slow by episode 6, you lost me.
Yeah.
something's wrong. Yeah. I feel like I feel like that what they're trying to do is the thing I always appreciate. I do appreciate this, but I always feel like they're trying to do this because they don't do it well enough later down. They're trying to give us world building. They're trying to give us character building. They're trying to introduce these new characters that he's been trading with for a long time. This new crew. So I'm glad they're doing it, but I'm also like, speed up the process a little bit because we know where this is headed. And I don't think you need it to go this slow, but I don't think it's too slow. I think it's slow for now, getting us the integral and everything. You'll pick up by episode 3 or 4. So this back half of this episode is kind of interesting. They're at the campfire. We see her eat. We see the healed. They're off. They get back in the carriages and kind of go out to the world. They trained him a little bit. The road girls kind of taking a liking to him, all the way to taking a liking to him, by the way. In like a motherly auntie kind of way. Kind of weird because the rogues take the most liking to him. She doesn't really talk. We've only heard her speak like twice. One, she gives him a gift and another little dagger. Two, the other one's like when she's like trying to give him food and like stares at him while he's reading. After those situations, then they're back on the road. They get stopped for some reason, and these bandits come on them. These bandits are also running the carriages and everything, and then the fight kind of breaks out between the bandits and the rest of the crew. And then we get this touching moment, which is a touching moment. I think it's a touching moment. The father is throwing the carriage with the mom and Arthur, and they get out of the carriage, check on the dad. He said, "I'm fine. Get your mom out of here." He's like, "I can fight though." Well, then fight to protect your mom. He's like, "Okay." Takes his mom. They start running. Before this, the bandits even say, which I thought was funny. The head of the bandits go, leave the child and mom alive. Do not hurt them. Basically, do not do anything to them. So it was kind of an interesting thing, something about the mom from some reason, but they didn't. But then the dad drops the bombshell before they run off that the mom was pregnant. And it's funny, they mention this because they show her eating, killed over, and then they also show her standing up at one point and kind of killed over. The car asks her ass, "Are you okay?" So, and dad goes, "You're being older brother, so protect your mom." And so they run off. They kind of get away, but not really at first. But everybody helps by bunch of bandits with arrows and things. They get farther away, and then once they get farther away, this maid throws this wind spell. Arthur does the probably right thing, pushes his mom out of the wind spell's air attack area. He goes flying. Arthur's like, "If I'm gonna go down, you're going down with me." Throws the dagger that I'm guessing the rogue gave her, and basically ties it to his foot, pulls him down, and they're gonna fall to their eventual death, basically. Um, as he's doing this, you see the old, I don't know if this is a trope they've used before, but the flash before your eyes kind of situation. In the sense, this time, not like I've lived a long life, I'm flashing everything I've done from my eyes. More or less, this flash before your eyes is like, I was going to be older brother. I see why joy and sorrow go together. I see older brother. This is karma for what I've done in my past. All these type of things. And it basically kind of says, "I would have been," and he says at the right at the end, he's like, "I would have been good. It would have been good to be older brother. I would have enjoyed that. I see what happiness is now, all this kind of stuff." And that's where the episode ends. Deon, what do you think about the back half of this episode? The back half of this episode kind of gives you more story, gives you what he's thinking about, regretting, but at the same time, kind of give you that cliffhanger. Like, is he actually gonna go coming to his death, or is he gonna survive? We don't know.
Um, hmm. I'll say this: it gives a little bit more flavor to the character
Mm.
because now you kind of put the character into the world a little bit more, like get him involved more with having a reason for doing things and kind of being more as a part of this new life versus him the last episode just mainly trying to become his old self.
Yeah,
Right.
You
yeah.
know? So
Do you
it's
feel the
juicy.
same way? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you feel the same way, Chris, about what Dion's thinking in that same situation, where they're not just gonna make him a powerful person right away? They're gonna give him character of like he's gonna
But see,
he's gonna love
to
all that
me,
kind of stuff.
from my opinion, that's what's going to set this show apart from your regular everyday isekais to your somewhat sophisticated isekais. Is the fact that your character isn't quote unquote OP right off the bat. Like he still has to come through some kind of adversity. Like other because other than that, what would we even be watching the show for? So yeah.
Get Up to Be a Hero X episode 2. We'll get into it in a minute, but I'm gonna ask you gentlemen this, and I'll say I agree with both y'all. I will say one thing that I don't really appreciate here. I usually would appreciate it more. This is one of the few times I don't like the cliffhanger because the cliffhanger doesn't feel justified the way it is. I
Mm.
think the I think the cliffhanger here is kind of a suspenseful cliffhanger. It's supposed to be suspenseful. Basically, what's gonna happen to him? Well, we know he mentioned he wanted to be an older brother. You're kind of teasing the fact he's gonna have a brother. It also teases the fact he's probably gonna stay alive. So, yeah, like that doesn't really jive with me very much. But I kind of
Yeah,
see
but
what they're trying to do.
what if he dies and the person we see isn't him growing up? It's his little brother who grows up to try to get revenge on the fact that he died.
That
Ooh.
that could be a thing that gets too. There's multiple different ways you can be supporting. If that's one of the ways, I'm down. I'm technically down. I'm generally down with that because it's fun. That's a fun way to do that. But it's also the thing that bugged me, and I caught in the intro, and you called it. You have the little boy, the teen, like the young kid, adolescent kid, and you have the adult. Kind of like what they did for Soul Leveling. Young Jinwoo, middle teenage Jinwoo, adult Jinwoo. Ultimately, when Soul Leveling did it, it's the same person. Here is it can be multiple people, and then once we get to the adult version can be more people. Could be, don't know. We'll see. But I'm asked for this, gentlemen, and I'll start off with Deon for this. What would you give episode 2 of the beginning for a rating? Did you hear me, Deon? What would you give episode 2 for the beginning after and for a rating?
So while we wait on Dion, I'm gonna get my score then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, this show still has a lot of potential in front of it, but right now I can't say I'm unimpressed. It's following general tropes and everything, so I'm going to give it a 6.6.
Okay.
I
Explain.
want to see it do better. Like right now, it's still really slow. I understand it's a 24 episode, but it is slow. You're not really giving me too much to go on. Like, yeah, he can use power. Wow, okay. Show me something that's going to be unique about this guy, and that's something we have yet to see just yet.
Okay. Okay. If I had to give my rating, I I would say I would give this like a 6. Same reason from you, Chris, but I think the other thing I don't really appreciate, I don't think it's great, is we don't know much about the crew he's rolling with. In the sense that we know who they are, we got introduced to them, but we don't have an understanding of why they're helping the family, and we don't understand outside of helping them rebuild their house, what's the purpose of helping the kid? Outside of helping him grow stronger, better teachers, all that kind of stuff, what else would they gain from helping him? Have they been friends before, all that kind of stuff? That's the one thing I was kind of like interested in. And then the mom being pregnant again was kind of interesting because we never really saw an indication that they did it, but we didn't need to. It just kind of felt like a plot device. That's not really sure where that plot device is going to go. Um, yeah. Uh, Dion, if you're back, what would you give a rating for this episode? Episode 2 of.
Um, I'm gonna give it a 5.2.
Oh, all right. Explain.
It's just an episode. Like there wasn't nothing that really was like, oh my god, this is good. Oh dang, that happened. That's cool. But it wasn't bad. Like it's just right there,
No.
middle tier. It's just. I mean, I like the fact that he used one of my favorite style of weapons. Uh,
Mm.
I want to see where that goes, but I know that's not gonna stick around. Seeing what's used. That's that type of stuff. Um, I really just see a lot of randomness in this episode that stops me from being able to give it a real rating.
When you
Like, are we
say
building camaraderie with the traveling adventures for some reason? Are we focusing on the bandits? Are we focusing on the parent situation? The dad getting hurt, the mom being pregnant, which, you know, are we focusing on the kid being able to now harness these new abilities that we never seen coming? Are we focusing on the fact that he's still trying to develop his walking feet. Like, what are we
You
focusing on in this episode?
took the words right off my mouth because there's a lot of disjointing here, and that's the thing I was trying to get at. But the one that disjoints the most, I think, is the party. The party is the one that disjoints the most because there's no real explanation why. And I think that's the one I'm like, okay, we have to have the explanation. Outside of like I told like you disconnect with him, I was telling Chris what and I was like, we get the fact that we built the house. We get the fact that he helped get back on the feet. I get all that. But why are they going to help teach this kid? What's the motivation? What's the reason behind it? All that kind of stuff. We don't really get any of that at any good point. I don't know. I'm hoping it gets better in 3 or 4 episodes. I know Chris said 6. I probably assume that's going to be the benchmark for this. I think 6 is going to be the minimum before they really get here. But I think once it gets to 6, if it's still this low, I would venture to want to read the manhwa just to see how long it takes before we get to something good.
That's one thing about reading, though. As we get into these shows, with the pacing of actually depends on how fast you read it.
It's also true. That is also true. It's also true. Yeah. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. We'll get back into more of the beginning after the end, kind of seeing where it's going. But let's get to the second episode to be here. The first episode was already wild enough. The second episode is going to get to be more wilder. And it gets wild in a way that I don't think anybody expected. And they do something that I don't really think anybody else expected. But we'll get into it. In a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Let's go.
All right. And 3, 2, 1. Let's go. The song for this is so good. Wait, was that dog a hero detective? What is that?
We used to have a lot of heroes. And his name is nice, but he's not Hero X.
Mm-hmm. I like this animation style. I will say one thing that's kind of interesting. They said she was a travel blogger originally. So she gained popularity being a travel blogger, and then she became a hero after that. Ooh, huh? Like, what does that even make? How does that make sense?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
This part just blew me. Didn't want to watch this
So,
no more.
so here's the thing about that part. What happened? Because we don't know. Was the body in the bed actually a person,
They
or was he
never
Juno?
say.
And that's the part that kills me.
Like the biggest cliffhanger of the first episode, and we never touch on it, bro. Like that's
That's foul.
horrible storytelling.
That's foul.
Like even if it was a dream, why are you dreaming that? How are you even thinking of that? You
Like
got
how
premonition
was that?
powers now. Like what is going on, bro? This
Here's my other thing. This little section here basically tells me this company is very manipulative. He wants to get out of this. He liked her even more. I don't know what the world happened there. Wait, is she cooking on a piano?
Yep. Which
Okay,
is
I was like, wait, the first time I was like,
like,
okay, McGrill
as a
there?
musician, this show lost points.
How does she cook on a piano? Is that even possible?
Technically, it is, but oh my god, it's a travesty.
Yeah, I believe it. Question. Yeah, this asked the question. She was a blogger originally, and she ended up getting popularity from the blog, and then she got the power. Couldn't she have done whatever she wanted with the power if she really didn't want, or at the end of the agency took over after she got the power?
Well, it was like her power was based on stuff that she was based on the power of the blog and being where she wanted to do, chasing the chase. But when she became infatuated with him, she always wanted to be around him until it became political.
I think the agency kind of forced them to be together, and the popularity of them being together made her powers trigger her to only want to be with him, since the fans control their powers.
But why would you lock them in a room for a month? I love this like scene where she just kind of pokes at it. It's kind of like something out of like a Toy Story. Like she's kind of wondering that childlike wonder. It's like what? Oh, okay. They skip. They skipped. They skipped over. I see what they did here. Okay. First time I watched, I was like, how did they get to this point without agreeing? But they teased this already. There's a flashback. Was this answer?
And now they do the flashback.
That just breaks on asking that question. I love how she has the realization in the background, like, yeah. By the way, why are the people still watching? Like I said first time, Chris, because I would be running if I saw this. I'm
because
trying to stay
they
around.
because they make it like the boys, and people want to have their phones out and record everything just like in modern times.
But a line from Miss J kind of gives away. She goes, "This is not part of the script." Hold on a second.
They don't
So
know
you're
that.
pretty. So you're pretty much telling this all scripted.
That's what the audience thinks.
Well, you did throw him to a fire, and now he's actually trying to ultimately do good about what he. love the fact he says his real name and not nice, actually.
I mean, he actually wanted to be there though.
He did. Even Cletus acting, which is even more kind of weird.
Did she really drop a tear?
Oh, Miss J?
Yeah, Miss J
No,
dropped a tear. Like
absolutely not.
she did. She dropped a tear.
Did she
She
drop it?
did.
Oh,
She
she
did.
did. Okay. The way that section sounded like she did, but then she's back in business mode.
Well, that was smart of him.
Was smart.
Mr. Detective right here.
Which took him too long to figure out what he figured out finally.
Why is that picture just sitting on his computer though?
Yeah, that is one thing about that. That is kind of weird. We don't. How do you get the picture?
I think he just been obsessed.
Okay.
But like, yeah, with Nice, what does Ling Ling have to do with that? Besides the fact that he died
The
at the same
boss.
building that the exec was at. Like that the story don't go together well enough to him to just have him up there like that.
Well, no, he did say he was putting together pieces of the person who's quote unquote killed themselves, who who committed suicide. After he was trying to figure out, and the picture was the common denominator.
See,
They
I would
did,
have
they
bought it
did.
more if he was looking at a picture of that top exec dude and seeing Ling Ling in the background or something.
Now that would have been good. Yeah.
You know, because he knew the exec. He the one brought him onto the show. But where does he even get the Ling Ling information and cross them together with Nice at all?
I I I, I know I can't give this show its justice because its justice is me going this piece by piece. We don't have the time for that. But I'll do this. Three big things from this show that needs to be told. One, we never figure out what happened to the fact that we see a dead mood in the bed 1 minute and alive the next. Like you said, was he dreaming? We don't even get an answer. That answer just kind of goes away. The second thing from this episode, they want to do the whole marriage thing, kind of grow the bond. Moon's having none of it. She doesn't want it. She wants to be free. She'll hold out for as long as she can to break her contract, even to the point of almost hanging herself. And then Ling Ling, who's playing nice, has an idea. Somebody breaks it up. which was the wreck guy, and then we kind of get to see what happens with that. Wreck is Nice's best friend, the former Nice, not the current Nice, because he says that Punch wasn't from Nice. You weren't Nice. And kind of get the backstory about Wreck was best friends with this dude, wanted to help grow, but nothing really changed. Everything kind of fell apart, and then he never came to work again. And the last thing about this episode, which I thought was interesting, she gets her freedom. Moon gets her freedom, but then she asks Nice or Ling Ling, "What do you want?" And then the TV pops on saying he's going to go fight the top 10 of heroes, which kind of teases a tournament of some sort to get the top 10. And then that's how the episode ends. I'll start off for Deon for this. Deon, what do you think about this episode? This episode was wild.
I'm just over the randomness with the plot holes, and then you expect me to enjoy the show. I'm really over it. Like, it was so all over the place, and they tried to make it seem like it wasn't, and it really irritated me.
Explain. What do you mean?
So we start off with the complete avoidance of the cliffhanger we left off of on the last episode. I mean, complete avoidance. Like, we mention it, but in passing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real conversation being held there. Then you go to the situation of Moon. We have no context of how they know each other at this moment. We just see them like fighting. The last time we seen them, she was in awestruck of how he knew the answer and the questions and stuff. We go to this person who's completely different, and yeah, he mentions, oh, she's like a totally different person. You're saying that now, but it's supposed to be like weeks later. It doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. You didn't give us the next day. You didn't give us 2 days later. You gave us weeks later. And then you go back to the time skip of them being asked to get married, and then it's like, well, you still don't understand that time frame. Like, it's just all over the place. And then you go to the guy who's Nice's best friend, and you just see him. Why didn't you text me? And it's like, okay, what is this about? Then their answer to that question was he was just his best friend. Like, bro, how does nobody know this? You picked this guy to be nice, and you're all in his business. You know everything about Ling Ling right now, but you don't know that this and this dude were best friends to the point where they were texting every day. Yeah, and tell him that his best friend died. Like, there's just too much to be so random. Then you get to the end where she's like, "Oh, it's just a blood pact. Remember, we about to. I'm finally free. Yeah, okay. You selling this part? Cool. You're selling it. Y'all still in the clouds. Then you get down to the cameras, and now you're selling it. Then it's like at the end, where she don't have her powers anymore. She leave behind her gun. Why? You just gonna abandon her on a desert island somewhere, on a tropical island somewhere for the rest of the time? And you get to, like, it's just so many.
I know. Okay, I get it because you gave me a lot, Chris. I didn't answer for this question, so I asked the same question to you. What do you think about this episode? You kind of agree with Deon? There's a lot of plot holes and points that we don't get, or is there something else going on?
So right now, this show sits with me as much as it does with what's that one we watched that was almost just as confusing?
Oh, the romance one.
No, one of the animes we've seen, Dead Mountain Death Play.
There we go.
Like, it has a lot. Like, I want to say that they're still building the story because I'm noticing that the guy that they have on the cover is not the guy we're looking at. So I'm starting to wonder, where is this show really trying to take this? You know, because it seems like it's a setup for something that hasn't come yet. Especially for people who have been saying this is like the boys. Like, come on now, because right now, if people are comparing this to the boys, I would say y'all really haven't seen the boys. Like, honestly, you can't call yourself a fan of the boys if you're saying this is like the boys.
Yeah, they're
So,
saying it's like the boys because it's heroes. Like, come on now.
But
yeah,
wait,
like,
but there's also the thing of like the boy, and I told you this, Chris, after watching some episode. The boys are a lot darker. Here's the other thing about the boy about this. This is dark, but this ain't dark. In the sense that yes,
but
you're
it
playing
has
a
the
game.
potential to be because we already seen a character commit suicide. A
Yeah,
character that could fly at that committed suicide by falling to his death. Like,
yeah, yeah. I, I'm I'm gonna cover two of the plot holes, and two of the plot holes have. I think they do have answers, but the answers are very vague. When Rex says, "You stopped texting and emailing me," that was the point when they stopped becoming friends. But also, that's also the point where we see the actual knights walk off the building, do the pose. Secondly, the other one I think that has an answer, but it's not a great answer because I think it's a true answer. Yes, was the actual Ling Ling having a dream about what happened tonight, what happened to Moon? Yeah, but also I think he actually did see somebody try to die. The only reason I say that is because I think Moon doing the blood capsule was the same blood capsule we see in the bed. If that's the
Nah,
case,
I can't
I
give
don't.
you that, B.
I, I can't usually give that to myself either, but that would be the only reason that makes sense if they were trying to go that route.
Nah, I can't give you that. I can't even almost give you that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Her
That's fair.
eyes were glossed over. She was dead in that bed.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, she was. And then the other thing about this show that I don't really understand: what is Miss J's angle in all this? Money? What? We don't know. And that's the thing that
Yeah,
also kept saying like
she's a promoter.
she's a
She's a
corporate head.
manager. She's a
Yeah.
agency head. And I think that's one thing that they're comparing to the boys. There's heroes with an agency head. But at the end
yep,
of it, it's like to your first point of the guy being he stopped texting him. You're the agency head of this character. If you want to compare it to the boys agency head, they know everything. Everything. You know that this person has a best that this person is his best friend. You know that. And you know that when he dies, he's going to not talk to his best friend. Why how do you call his best friend? He wasn't calling nice like, "Hey, do you need me now? He was calling Miss J.
yeah,
How do you ignore that in the plot? He's in
Okay.
on it.
Yeah.
He has to be in on it. How did you not wrangle up one of your main characters and say, "Hey, your boy died, but we still need you to be a part of the show"? Or, "Hey, your boy died. We got to take you out the show altogether." Like, you just leave. That's for him to
that's
just
shocking.
die anyway 2 minutes later.
All right. I'm gonna ask this now because we're gonna go a little long. We're gonna have a long conversation about the show. We probably will eventually down the road because this show is gonna keep getting interesting and weird. I'm gonna start off for Chris for this. Chris, I need a rating. What would you give To Be a Hero episode 2 for a rating?
I'm gonna give it a 5.9.
Oh,
I am unimpressed
oh,
in the entirety of the word.
okay.
Animation is dope though.
Yeah, I'll, I'll get to that thing in a second. Yeah, but you gave reasons why. Deon, same to you. What would you give my hero To Be a Hero X for a rating episode 2?
4.2.
Okay, all right. I did not expect this from these two. But yeah, all right. This one's tough for me. This one's tough, and it's funny because Chris brought it up. This has good animation. The story's kind of weird, but it's good animation. On the flip side, the beginning after the end, animation's okay, but story's kind of slow, but getting there. I have to give this like a 3. I'm gonna go say y'all. It's weird and wacky, but it doesn't feel weird and wacky. It feels like something's off. And I think that's the big issue about the show. Weird and wacky and off doesn't make sense to me. Dead Mount Death Play was weird and wacky, but it at least had a purpose. There's a story behind it. This story seems disjointed. It seems like we're watching a superhero show play out without reason. But we'll see where it goes. This is the one where I'm going. I'll give it 4. I might give it 5. After 5, if something's off, if something doesn't feel right, it's gonna be one of those ones I'll keep watching, but I have to see where it ends up because you're not giving me the connecting plot threads for a lot of the stuff. You're giving me a lot of plot holes. But we'll see. That was episode 101 of the Anime Dojo. We'll be back next Tuesday with episode 102, where we talk about WeekCon. We'll get into episode 3 of both these shows and see how they progressed in a week. I hope you stay on this journey. This is going to be one of the weirder anime journeys we're going to have in a while because these two shows have hype to the max behind them. One's compared to Boys, the other's compared to Jobless. We'll see where things end out, but ultimately, I think right now, the beginning after the end is probably the one in the better spot. The other one's in a spot that's good, but has no substance, and the thinking behind it makes you think too much and can't give you the answers you need. If we get the answers down the road, cool. I don't think we're getting the answers down the road. They just let go, but hey, we'll see. This will go up on Wednesday this week because I'll have it'll be a day early, and then it'll go up on the Spotify right after it processes. But I do thank Chris and Deon for joining me. I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. Hope for next time.
Peace.